Hi, I'm Zach Stewart.
Laura Hotchkiss.
And I'm Daniel Kvoras. On this podcast, we improvise in character as hosts of a morning radio show in a fictional country called the Driftwood Isles.
Everything we say is made up, and none of the events, people, or places are real.
It's that simple. Now enjoy this episode of Good Morning Driftwood. And welcome back to Good Morning Driftwood. We are here in the studio for you, the people, to start your day. Start your day, and now we're on the internet to start your evening. Start whatever you want to start. Let's get it started. And I'm here to do it with my lovely friends, my lovely compatriots, my lovely colleagues. Hey, it's Penelope MacGuffin.
Oh, hi.
And oh,
It's me.
Look over there. It's Bench PerDiem.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there.
And I'm just kicking it right straight off. What do you got for us, Penny?
I think I made my microphone too high today, so I'm going to hold it in a weird position.
You can adjust it. They are all adjustable.
It's
I
so
know.
easy to adjust. You should just try it right
Every
now.
time
Penny
I
sometimes
try.
struggles with the machinery, which is just a little lever.
It's too hard.
Is it the wrists? Is it
the wrists.
the weak wrists?
I didn't warm up for this exercise.
Penny is very strong, but her wrists are her Achilles heel, so to speak.
Achilles wrist.
Achilles
Yeah.
wrists.
Yeah.
When I was dipped into the waters of the river, I was held by the wrists, which they never went in, which makes a lot more sense than the Achilles tail where he was like held by an ankle. Like, what's that all about? Why are you dipping a baby
You're going
upside
to drop.
down?
If you hold
Yeah.
a human being, even a baby, by the ankle, that's not enough to grab onto. They're just going to fall.
Crazy place to hold a baby.
Why not just put a little bit of your hand in?
And then you can also have just like
That's
one real
true.
strong
yeah,
hand.
What's the issue
Why
there?
was whoever dipped Achilles into it, why were they so scared of the water?
Yeah.
Why did they not want some of that juice for themselves?
Was it Zeus?
What?
I'm
It's a
trying to
good
remember.
question. I don't know who it was.
feel
If
like
it
I've
was
read
Zeus,
enough of
maybe he was
these.
worried it would be
No.
like a overpower. It would just become
I don't
too
think
powerful
it was
then.
like himself. It was probably, I think it was the mother, which was human.
Take a guess.
I think that's a fairly common thing in Greek mythology.
Greek
I think.
mythology.
Greek mythology.
Mothers are a fairly common thing in Greek mythology.
They come up here and there.
They
It's
are.
a
There's a lot
motif
of
that
them.
I've noticed.
There's a real lot of them.
Yeah.
I started to search who dipped, and it immediately fulfilled it as Achilles. Thetis dipped her infant son Achilles in the river Styx.
It was the mother.
It was the mother.
It was Thetis.
Yeah. When I said Zeus, I didn't
The
fully
answer
believe it being
It's
Zeus.
Thetis.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we solved that.
Much beloved figure in Greek mythology, Thetis.
Hey, shout out Thetis.
Shout out Thetis, all the Thetis heads out there. Anyway, back to today's events.
Sorry, yeah.
Events of long storied history and past. But hey, we cover it all here. And let's get into more local events.
Yeah. Well, I had a little press release about the New Year honors list has been revealed.
Exciting.
Controversially, Thetis not on there.
No,
No.
she is very unappreciated in modern society,
Unappreciated.
as is evidenced by the fact that we did not know her name.
Arguably because she dipped a baby in a weird way.
It's true. Weird dipper. Thetis.
I would have went and then put my forearms in.
Yeah.
I would have held the baby
I
and then
would
dipped
have
with
walked
the
in
forearms.
with him.
Yeah. So you also
get
yeah.
some of that sticks action.
Yeah. That makes sense.
You can also build a machine and just have if you have a piece of rope and then just dip the rope if you really don't want to touch it.
True.
You're
But
gonna-
that sort of presents the same problem that the area that's the rope is touching is also not going to get any invulnerability.
Are you? And then
Or just put him
I
in
didn't
there
even think of that.
and then catch him real quick.
yeah.
But, wouldn't the water
You know.
get through the rope?
Could you build a little net
Mm.
and then just have the net set up? And then when you let them go, if you're not going to catch them properly, at least the net's there as a backup. You know,
Yeah.
when you watch
Yeah.
TV's Gladiators and they're all at high level, but there is a net below them to catch them.
Yeah.
I'm saying TV's Gladiators. I'm also thinking acrobats in a circus.
I was just thinking
Okay.
shark cage. It worked so well in the movie Jaws.
That's true. I don't
A
think they
shark
had
cage.
that technology in ancient Greece.
Well, maybe they weren't that great
It's
then.
weird because when you think about it, they
Shots
did have
fired, ancient Greece.
ancient Greece had so many cool things like a giant horse that a lot of soldiers could hide in.
That's
So
true.
there's a lot of
Which
real
just
interesting
seems
technology.
impractical in general
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
How many people can you really get in a horse?
Imagine
2, 3.
you went to your work
And
that
without
day.
people being suspicious.
Yeah.
Like the midsection of this thing is huge.
Imagine you went to work one day and they were like, get
So
in the
what horses
horse
look
with all
like.
your colleagues. And you were like, what?
No,
They're like,
Mondays.
how long am I going to be in the horse? And they're like, just until Troy opens its walls and invites in.
And then
so
you
once
got
the
to be
Trojans are ready
ready
to fight.
to
Yeah.
go. But also be so quiet
No warm-ups.
until then. Don't bump anything.
Don't talk.
I know it will be moving, but make sure do not bump anything
Yeah.
or
God,
say anything.
They had to take out all the little jokesters who would just like, it would be so hard to not
Be
like
hard to
do
not
a
make
bit."
jokes. It's like church laughter, like any little thing that happened.
Mhm.
And then you know when you're in there, like, hearing all of the people be like, wow, what a great gift. You would want to chuckle like these idiots. They have no idea what's coming.
Well, I would be really worried that when it came time to fight and ransack the city, that I would leap forth from the horse. But because I've done no warm-up, I would like pull an Achilles,
Hey,
So you good one. I see
a
what you did
little
there.
tendon.
But your legs, because you wouldn't be able to move for so long,
Yeah.
you probably half of those guys must have a leg asleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they start
Minimum.
walking and they're just like limping, like really need to get
Or
going.
the doors open and you're like, here we go. And then you just have to like do that stretch, when you've been sitting in a weird position for a
Yeah.
while, like you
Yeah.
can't get up
Arch
and walk.
the back.
Yeah.
you know.
Little shoulder shrug.
Yeah.
Anyway, the New Year's honors list has been
Yeah.
revealed.
Mhm.
I got some Thetis information if we want to
I would
circle
love
back
some
to that
Thetis
later.
information.
Let's get into the New
Yeah.
Year's
Yeah.
honors list.
Like, I feel bad not reading this thing that is
just
written.
read the thing. I feel like the Thetis information is going to come up organically.
I know, but
Yeah.
then we could just pretend I didn't and then just bring
think
it
it-
up some other time.
I think at this point Thetis is too important not to address.
Yeah.
So let's get into
Okay.
the New Year's honors list.
So as is tradition, as we all know, the High Council of Derg do give out their New Year's honours, designating special Buccaneer Bachelor status to celebrated figures on the island. The appointees can use the title designation Beard, which is the highest honour for a pirate. So that would
Beard?
just be, they just drop it at the end of their surname, as we all know.
Like an esquire if you're a lawyer.
Absolutely. That's the way I describe it when I'm telling people not from the island what it's all about, So you would just be Wiley Beard,
It's got a nice ring to it.
It's got a nice ring. So we do find in modern times fewer and fewer people do use so because they like to be chill and cool and be like, you don't have to treat me any different. Don't call me Beard. Just you can call me whatever, They're trying to
It's
be
too formal for the
very
youth of
formal.
today.
very formal. And it is nowadays more of a gesture rather than a legal requirement to fight or pillage for the flag. It is obviously back in the day very much. So it came with a big list of requirements.
It was
and
celebrated back then, whereas now it's more frowned upon. It's not really some cool stuff to do anymore.
Yeah, there's like slight controversy around it sometimes. And it no longer comes with land, but still it is one of the highest cultural honours that can be bestowed here on the Isles. And this year we would just like to put forward our congratulations to the that team over at the other morning breakfast show at the other station who have just been announced as each getting on. Good for them. Good for them.
Sure.
Happy
Well,
for
I'm
them.
glad you said it because I don't think I could have gotten those words out.
Yeah. We obviously, on behalf of the radio station, really just want everyone to know, like, no hard feelings.
We
No hard
understand
feelings.
that
They're
competition,
welcomed here individually whenever they want.
Yeah.
sure, collectively, absolutely not.
No.
We understand healthy competition is a thing. The fact that they are Driftwood's #1 radio show, we are #2. I feel like we make each other better.
Yeah.
I feel like they would not be where they are if not for us nipping at their heels and
Competition
forcing
is
them.
healthy.
Exactly, forcing them to elevate their game.
I would hate to be #1.
It's sort of a sellout,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
the person who's the top of the food chain is not cool anymore.
like,
No.
what, you're just better than everyone else. Like, where does that lead you?
We are the people station.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You're just
what we're
waiting to
known.
get torn down by society when once you're at that #1 spot. You're just constantly watching your back. Meanwhile, us, we're the hungry upstart. Who's always striving for the mountaintop, rooting. People always root for the underdog,
Hey, you know what? They, in a way, and I hate to say this, they keep us better because that
True.
gives us something to fight against.
We make
common
them better,
enemy.
they make us better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
are better.
I wonder if
I-
they would agree with that.
I don't even know if I want Buccaneer bachelor status.
No.
You know, maybe that's
It's a bit old timey.
Yeah.
It's a bit old Driftwood.
Like, would I even
And I-
use beard? I don't know.
I mean, it sounds pretty.
Penelope
cool.
MacGuffin
It does
beard.
sound nice. I feel like it would sound really good on the end of all of our names, but I don't think we
Yeah.
need it though.
No.
I don't really want it.
PerDiem
No.
I just think
beard.
it would sound nice
Oh,
and bestow
PerDiem
kind of
beard.
a regal sort of old world
It'd be
charm and
nice
status.
to know that when you die, it's like on the gravestone, you know, like, and then people would see it. And if they had no, like hundreds of years' time when they just don't know who you are, it's like they must have been a big deal and important.
Well, you know what? I feel like we are, so maybe this won't be on our gravestones, but we will be remembered just like as an oral tradition, much like Thetis. People are going
Thetis.
to remember Thetis. People are going to remember our names so
People will
specifically.
super remember our name, much like Thetis.
They're going to super remember our name.
Yeah, just like Thetis.
We don't need, Thetis is not beard.
The way I remember Thetis.
Thetis is not beard.
Thetis is not beard.
Yeah. Thetis is not beard.
That's true. Which is probably why no one remembers Thetis anymore. I mean, we were talking her up like people like we have a lot of honor.
I'm
I can't pretend
one
like
day.
any of us knew who Thetis was, or
Well,
no.
literally
Hey.
10 minutes ago.
Achilles is not beard.
Achilles is not beard,
Achilles is not beard.
and he's like top tier for these Greek guys back in the day. Top
up-
tier,
Achilles
top tier
was a
Greek
big
guy.
deal. He was a big deal.
He's on the Mount Olympus of Greek guys, if you will.
Yeah,
He was a massive deal in the Trojan War.
Mhm.
You know that war was like 10 years long?
was it?
No.
Crazy. 10 years. And they just all like they left to go do this to like rescue Helen,
Mhm.
who'd run off essentially and married into the family that was the head of Troy. And then they just like built a camp outside the walls of Troy because Troy's big deal was they had really good walls and it was, you know, you were never gonna, and they were the biggest and the best. Like that city was a big deal, and they were just outside in
For 10
tents
years.
for 10 years. Like
That
they
marriage better have worked out.
a
Can you
lot.
imagine like 2 years in, the romance is kind of fading,
Yeah.
and they look at each other like, I don't know if I want to
think
stick.
it
I was like,
is.
we really
It
have
is.
to stick this out because if
Yeah.
I bet
everyone's
that-
dying because of this.
I bet that back in the day, it was a fairly common reason for sort of like an unhappy marriage to last because like we need to keep this together for the sake of the city, for it to not
Yeah,
fall.
we need to keep this together because there are thousands of soldiers from the opposing side
Mm-hmm.
outside, and like they will love it if we break up.
And they will, and
Ugh.
like,
My
they will
people and
eat
friends
that
and
up.
citizens are dying.
Yeah,
and like they
Because
would,
I'm
if
into
we
you.
break up, they would think that it's because of them, and we don't want them to think that.
it's a lot of pressure to put in a relationship.
It is a lot of pressure.
Or no,
Yeah.
it's a poor boy.
You'd think the people of Troy would be like, screw this, get this lady out of here.
Hey, you know what?
But she was so pretty.
It's so pretty.
Maybe that's what like ultimately. So they're like, we want the hot lady.
That was
So they were
basically
so they were all cool to fight for that.
the face that
Sent
launched a thousand
launched a
ships.
thousand. Yeah,
Is that,
that's
is that
what
the
it
saying?
is.
Yeah. And those 1,000 ships all turned up, sat outside for a really long time.
No one talks about that. They
No.
launched 1,000
Just the
ships and
waiting.
then just like made those ships like wait around for a while.
Wonder how that affected the population of back home.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
10,000, you know, how, that's a lot of people. A lot of, I don't know how many women were in the army back then.
Very few.
There you go then. So a huge section of the male population of
Left.
reproductive age would have just been gone for 10
A
years.
lot of the women moved on.
I would imagine. I would imagine
You know?
any men left would have been having the best time.
Yeah, there was a lot of I believe men coming back from the war with new wives and families because it had always been like 10 years.
Who are they meeting?
The people just on the beach. You know how beaches.
Who's hanging
you know
out
how
on the
beaches
beach
be?
during wartime?
You know how beaches
Oh,
be.
those
So these are
Trojan
just like
beaches.
the stragglers or like outlanders that
Yeah.
didn't live inside of Troy were just like hanging out.
Yeah,
And these army men showed up
living
and they're
this
like,
life.
this fish woman is down by the water looking pretty good after like year 4 when you
look,
haven't seen another woman.
Put some respect on a siren's name, okay? They lure boats and sold sailors to
true.
their deaths, okay? I
Are they
mean, that
marrying
is
sirens or, by the way, I mean, no disrespect to fish women. Fish women are some of my favorite women.
Exactly.
You come from a long line of fish women.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Wiley fish women are storied
Yeah.
in these parts. Great fishermen and fish women. I call it fishermen. I guess fisher women Fisherman is a term. Fisherwomen isn't as much of a term.
Do you think
But I was referring
this is
to the
why
women
we
as
don't get the New
fishermen.
Year's honors?
What?
Because
Do you
we
think this
get
kind of stuff?
stuck in the semantics of
Fish
fishwomen.
Yeah,
People love this. That's what why people tune
this might
in.
be it.
That's
It's the
true.
fish
They're
dog.
talking about like news and important events. Who are the real people of Driftwood?
Fish
Fishwomen.
women and fish men, fish gentlemen.
I think women are better fishermen than men.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I mean, I just think that we are the descendants of the fish women. They couldn't drown.
Indeed.
Although it would be weird if a fish woman drowned because that's like their office.
It's kind of an indictment
That's why
on
they
their
could- that's
why they could
capability.
their skills.
For the most
Any
part.
good fishwoman is not going to drown.
No,
Yeah. And if she is, then she's no real fish woman.
no, exactly.
Spartan.
Mm.
I think that's a good note to send off to our first break. Call in with your thoughts on fishwomen and fish people in general. This is a dialogue that I'd really like to continue.
If it's plural, is it fishies women or fishies women or fishies?
Fish women, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
I always get confused.
Fish
It's like,
womani.
you know how sheep aren't a plural? Like sheep is also the plural of sheep.
Sheeps.
Sure.
Sheeps isn't a word. I don't
Sure.
know. Did
You
anyone
just-
tell you?
You just said it,
Sheeps is not a word though.
but you just said it.
Yeah, but like you can say it, but it's not like.
How can you say it if
Okay,
it's not
you
a
know
word?
what?
I
Throw
still
it-
know what you mean, though.
Yeah, throw it to break and I'll explain it to
All
him
right, we'll
while
see you
we're
on the
there.
other side, folks. We're going to get into some stuff in the meantime. All right, welcome back. We had a very enlightening conversation. Might get back into that later
I can't
on the
believe that.
vocabulary hour.
I was
Because we do
really-
spend a whole hour on vocabulary each morning
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
linguistics. What was
I
that?
cannot believe that fact you told me about Thetis.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thetis. Fascinating.
What a person.
I think maybe we should just devote an entire episode to Thetis and other underappreciated
well,
figures of
look,
mythology.
You know me.
Might want to save this Thetis gold I'm sitting on here and not burn it in this
Hey,
episode. We want to really dig into this stuff.
You know me. Every time we have a editorial meeting, I bring my big book of Greek mythological facts, and
Your
I
big
say,
book of Greek mythological facts.
I say,
adds
Matthias,
a lot of
now's
time
the
to the meeting.
time. Yeah, now is the time to start digging through this.
Mhm.
Okay, because there's a lot of names. I think we could do downloadable family trees
Mhm.
because like it
Ma-
gets really complicated.
Because Matthias, he's, classic producer. He always asks questions like, why this? Why us? Why now?
Why now?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And your Greek mythology and your Greek historical figures really falls apart in the why now situation.
There's never
Your
been a better
question?
time.
Yeah, that's a hard. Matthias is a tough.
The
He's
film Troy just got released here, starring Brad Pitt
that's true. There might be a heightened interest
and Sean Bean.
because of that.
Sean Bean's in it?
We love Sean Bean.
I
yeah,
love Sean Bean.
yeah,
From Goldeneye?
yep. Game
Yeah.
of Thrones. Sean Bean.
Game of Thrones?
Can't
Yeah,
wait.
Rose Byrne is in that as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch Game of
Brian
Thrones when
Cox.
it finally gets
Mhm.
over here.
Brian Cox in that is
What a
Agamemnon.
guy.
He does that
Oh.
like really just iconic yell where his helmet isn't quite fitting him correctly, and he like holds his I think he holds a sword up, and he just goes, "Gah!" and then
Perfect.
everyone unleashes.
It's funny because when I first
It
read
definitely
about
doesn't
Agamemnon,
undercut the drama of the moment at all.
when I first read about Agamemnon, I was like, "That's the personality I see." Brian Cox in an ill-fitting helmet.
hmm
Mm.
hmm Gravitas. Gravitas.
Mhm.
Brian Cox as an actor, so much gravitas.
Mhm.
Somehow, in that moment, that's his apex, if you ask
And
me.
just to say this again, if Brian Cox wants to come on Good Morning Driftwood and explain his acting choices, we would be delighted
Would
to
love
have
it.
him.
Love
Yeah.
to get inside of that mind of that brilliant man.
Get inside of him like a big Trojan horse,
Oh,
Hey,
beautiful.
Hey, now.
We should be number one. We're dropping gold
and it
like
makes
that.
sense because he's Agamemnon, so he was on the other side. He like was part of the side that
There's
made the
layers.
war. Yeah.
Layers to this, guys. Why aren't we? Why are we
The
not
noise I'm
beards?
making is my brain exploding with connections.
Well, you're exploding everyone else's brain, so I don't understand why we're not beards. Anyway, in terms of getting inside the mind, let's get inside Bench's mind and see what he's got for us
well,
this morning.
I have a fun new announcement. We have a
Love a fun new announcement.
we have a new karaoke bar.
You're so excited you can't even say it, Bench.
Doesn't even know the
I can't get the words
word.
out of my mouth. A new karaoke bar has opened in New Derrick, South Harbour District. Of course, South Harbour, as we know, is named after Sutherford Panacliffe, one of New Derrick's longest-serving mayors, and is, of course, New Derrick's northernmost neighborhood. This new karaoke bar is located east of East Creek, which is the Clint Eastwood Butt Creek River, and across the street from Main Street, the smallest alley in New Derrick, named after Driftwoodian impressionist artist Joseph Street. Anyway, this new karaoke bar is only going to do sea shanties.
Exclusively sea shanties.
Yep.
Good thing those are popular.
Yeah.
One thing came to mind as you were talking about where it was.
Yeah.
Are they not worried that it might be a little hard to find?
How come?
Lots of easts and easts of easts and wests. And there's just a lot of different coordinates
It's a grid
that
system.
you had to walk through
It's a grid system.
to get to where to find it.
Hey, I can see in theory why it's confusing for people who don't live in New Derrick, but again, it's a grid system.
If you're, because
Okay.
again, I'm not from the East Coast. So if you grew up here and you're familiar with the area,
Yeah.
you just sort of intuitively know all these
Who
things.
really is actually, because who is really familiar with it? Because
I
I
am.
don't know if anyone's noticed, the Postal Service have never once put the letter through the right
Oh,
post
they're
box
bad
there.
at that. Yeah.
They've
Are
never
they?
once. And if they do, complete fluke.
They
Like,
have
It's
resorted
like
to
a clock is right twice a day.
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah. That's how
Broken
they do it.
clock.
Like, no one really. Wait, no, a clock doesn't. A clock could be right twice a day if it's also working.
It's true.
Depends what time you look at it. If
My
a clock,
my clocks go backwards, and so they intersect with the correct time twice a day.
Yeah.
That's still
if a clock
If
ticks,
it's not the
yeah.
time that it is, or otherwise.
all
but
clocks are correct at least twice a day.
If a clock ticks in the forest and no one is there, did the tree fall down and make a noise?
Still twice a day.
Still twice a day.
If it falls twice,
Then
Yeah.
it's broken.
sounds right.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. That makes perfect sense.
So Wellerman is a big one. It's going to be a big
Sorry?
one of big shanties.
Wellerman, the sea shanty.
Would you like to give us a taste of that?
Do we have? Do we have the rights for this?
Oh, the good thing about sea shanties is that they're all in the public domain.
No one owns sea shanties.
Yeah, but like,
They're of the sea. They were created in international waters. No
Remember,
one
though, if
can
you
own the
do-
sea shanties.
if you do the key change in the set way that person did the key change, though, that's when it starts
Oh,
to
yeah.
get real tricky.
And if your shoes are the certain color from that one music video,
Yeah. Oh, boy.
You're in deep
It's
trouble.
like how Popeye the Sailor Man is currently public domain, but not Popeye the Sailor Man eating spinach because that came later.
So
Interesting.
you can do stuff with Popeye the Sailor Man, but if you have him eating spinach, they've
And
got
gaining
you
muscles.
legally.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. That's not public domain.
What
yet.
if he doesn't gain the muscles? What if he
Totally fine.
just happens to be eating spinach?
he has to lift.
just
You have
a
to show him lifting a lot.
just
Yeah.
a character choice?
What if you don't link the spinach eating with the muscle gain?
Okay, what if it's like a protein powder, but it's in a spinach flavor?
Yeah, it's like a green protein powder
Yeah, is
in
that
a
okay?
can.
You still can't then have him go, whoa, when he gets the muscles, like his arm, his biceps
can't be
can't
surprised
pop.
by
yeah,
it.
you can't have that. You can't then have his biceps pop and then those little like flicks of lines come off them going, wow,
Wow.
none of
Okay.
that. But you are allowed to
I
use
do have a
Popeye the
script that
Sailor
I'm
Man.
trying to sell to my father to hopefully get produced.
Does this mean
It's based
another
on
round
Popeye.
of rewrites? Another round of rewrites to get rid of the spinach?
He was using the trademark and the copyright as why we can't do this.
I just think it's real
But if I
interesting.
can get around this, then obviously the quality is going to stand on its
Yeah.
own.
I just think it's real interesting that you keep taking these classic, beloved characters from cartoons and trying to do gritty, dramatic remakes, as is the style in Hollywood these days.
Well, they did it with superheroes,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So I feel like the next logical step is cartoon characters.
I just don't think the world is ready for the sort of gritty, dark Arthur movie that you've been pitching.
Why not? You've seen that meme with him like closing his fist?
Yeah.
Can you imagine seeing a live action version of someone doing that? The audience in the theater would applaud.
I mean,
They'd be like, that's the moment.
Yeah.
And that's
That's
like
the
when he
trailer.
turns to, that's for sure a trailer moment. Something's happening and there's like he sees a crime go down and you see him see the crime and then you watch his fist clench and that's the turn where he becomes the hero that he was always destined to be.
Is he still wearing?
And then he just goes insane on some
Is a
people
lot
and
of the
beats
movie-
the hell out of them.
Is a lot of the movie based around him not being able to close his hand in a fist shape, and then the moment that
It's
he
because
is able to do it is like a huge.
It's because he's such a gentle soul, and so he can't even make a fist because he just never has the feeling to punch anyone, or he's just a flippy, floppy, weak-handed man. And then he sees something that inspires such a fire inside of him that fist closes.
Just a very dramatic, somber.
Hans
single
Zimmer, get
piano
Hans
version,
to do it.
but like in a version of the Arthur theme song.
Sure,
Over that, yeah,
sure, like slow piano, maybe with some Smashing Pumpkins.
You know what? I'm sold.
Yes.
I'll watch this.
Right?
Smashing Pumpkins.
Let's do it.
That
And
sounds
him and his
perfect.
little sister just start ripping throats.
Because some of the
DW.
Smashing Pumpkin songs really, like, they get faster and, like, more optimistic
More intense.
towards the end. So, like, that with the trailer, with the
There's
beats
a
of
natural
the trailer,
momentum
yeah,
to
the
it.
crescendo.
Yeah.
That's the word I spent 3 sentences trying to find in my head.
Crescendo.
Crescendo.
You got there.
Thanks.
And we got there
We got there.
collectively. Yeah.
Group mind.
Glad you guys are on board. You sounded skeptical initially, but now you're super on board with this.
The more you were talking about it, the more
It's
interested
a
I was.
good
I wanna see it.
idea, right?
I'd like to part finance, if that's okay.
More than welcome.
Thank you.
If I can bring the fact that we already have financial backing to my father, I don't see how he could say no.
Yeah.
And obviously, we have a natural promotional tool here.
It's true.
Not as big of a promotional tool as
The
another
other ones, you know.
particular radio station, but when we become a massive hit, they'll have no choice but to talk about us.
Yeah.
That would become the promotional tool for us.
Them talking about us, about
No,
how
the
jealous
movie,
they are of
the
our
movie.
film. Ah, the movie itself.
You know who'd
We
be
could
great?
cameo.
You know who'd
We
be
could have
great
cameos in
Arthur
it.
though?
What's that?
I feel bad even saying it, but Jack would be
Come
really
on, why
good
do you
Arthur.
have to
Oh,
do that?
I thought you were going to say Brian Cox. I genuinely
Now
thought
we're
that's where that was
talking.
going.
Okay, yeah.
Bench was referring to Jack Wiley, who's my
Yeah.
brother, who is a very popular movie
Very
star.
good.
Oh,
actor.
you don't need to
I don't
explain it to the
understand it.
audience. Everyone's heard of Jack Wiley. He's
Everyone
the big
knows
I
deal.
think I
Wiley.
probably need to explain it to some people. I don't think he's quite as beloved as you think he is, and definitely not as talented or as handsome or
Is Jack
as.
a beard?
I don't think Jack's a beard yet. I
I
think
can't
he keeps turning it down.
Oh my god, that's so classy.
Yeah, like in a real, like, he doesn't need it kind of way.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not supposed to talk about it, but every year at the holidays, he's like, they offered me beard again,
It's like that and
And
the
then he
sexiest man
smugly
alive. He
turns it
just
down.
turns it down.
He would be
and Dad
such a
just
get.
laughs.
Such a get for
We'll
that.
have him one day. Him and Brian Cox.
I think Brian Cox would be a better Arthur.
Even with
Especially
his
if you
age.
combine the fist with the nah, and then he goes and starts punching people.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think we've
Also,
solved
he has kind of a round head like Arthur.
Isn't Arthur's head famously oblong?
I'm picturing something rounder.
You picturing Brian Cox?
In my adaptation, he'd be a meteor Arthur. You know,
Like a buff.
yeah, exactly.
do you know where I think your confusion is coming from? Are you thinking of Hey Arnold?
No.
Very oblong that head.
Very oblong head.
I also have a treatment for a Hey Arnold script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Hey Arnold's not going to be in the public domain for a really long time.
Neither is Arthur.
No, I'm gonna when it does, I'm gonna be ready.
Was it 70 years after?
Is that what it is?
He's 70.
70,
I'm gonna be
80,
quite old
something
when
like
that
that.
happens, but-
Arthur was 1996, the TV show.
When it started, isn't it based on when it ended?
No, I think
Based on when it started? Let's say when it started.
how would that work with Winnie the Pooh? Because that was a
Oh,
that
it's
was a
still running
book at that
technically.
time. Yeah.
I think it's based on when the book came into public domain.
Mhm.
I think.
So is the situation where the book is public domain, but
the
the
books
show
would have been
isn't?
beforehand because that came before.
Are there Arthur books?
There are
I also
other
have a
books.
Winnie the Pooh treatment.
You can. Oh my God! Did you not realize you
Tigger
cannot
is
do
a drug addict.
TV or film unless it's been a book?
Wait, all TV and film
All
has been
TV and film have been
60
books.
minutes.
That was a book,
Shit.
but it was called 60 pages. They adapted it for
that's
the format.
good.
Yeah.
That's really good
It's very clever of them.
because time moves differently on TV.
hmm
Broken
Twice a day?
TV twice a day.
Indeed. A broken TV is right twice a day. So this karaoke bar.
Sugar and tea and
I forgot.
There we go.
I forgot that was even mentioned.
Yeah, it's exciting. A place
If you
for people to
like-
have some revelry. And
If you like
and-
a sea shanty,
yeah.
If you like a sea shanty.
if you want to do a little chapel rowing, not for
Not
you.
well.
Also,
Welcome.
I just realized,
Get
genuinely realizing this just now for the first time, that sea shanties are a lot of a cappella.
Mhm.
So I don't know what the karaoke track of it is going to actually be.
Stomping and clapping, probably.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
that.
There's just the track. And people in the audience, I feel like
Someone on a
people in the
box.
audience shouldn't stomp and clap. Because that will just confuse you. There would be an echo. It would sort of come in waves to
Also-
whoever's on street. You should just let the
Yeah.
backing track
Just
of
do
the
its
stomping
thing.
clap.
Have you
Yeah.
ever been to a concert where the audience has started clapping and they've managed to clap in time with the
Never.
music?
Not
Never
once. Literally never once. And even if
Never.
they are,
They lose it.
this is true. It always speeds up.
Speeds
But
up.
always the person on stage, it's very obvious
Yeah.
that because the crowd is so big, the claps from the back, they're going to sound in time to the person at the
Yeah.
back. But by the time they get to the stage, they're just messing the performer up. They're coming, it's coming in a wave.
Can I
It's not a
just say,
singular clap.
The one thing that's worse than an audience clapping not in the correct tempo is an audience clapping on the 1 and 3. I have thrown a tantrum in many a shows when that starts happening.
Agreed.
I believe Penny was with me in a show where that happened. I got visibly upset.
I can't remember it,
That's
but I
fine.
agree.
I think sea shanties are a good way to teach people the proper stomping and clapping
There's
timing.
etiquette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is. So if you want to learn,
Yeah.
maybe that's a pitch as well.
Hey.
If you don't want to be embarrassed at any concerts in the future with dumb clapping time signatures, come to this karaoke bar,
Yeah.
Get some practice in.
learn how to stomp and clap properly.
Mhm.
But again, do not actually stomp and clap. I think you should leave it to the backing track.
Yes.
But you will be able to listen and internalize and understand proper stomp and clap timing. Can we agree on that?
I agree.
100%.
So there you go. Get on out there, folks.
Do it.
Do it. That's
Now, once was a ship.
Let's go to break.
Do it, Bench. Do it. Bench is doing it. We're getting into all kinds of history here with sea shanties and Greek mythology.
Oh my.
This is a very cultured episode, I feel like. Historical, cultured, literary.
I just wish the Derek Council were listening for.
Agreed.
giving
This is
out some
our plea.
honors.
We're covering stuff they're definitely not covering over that dumb place where you're giving them all beards.
This is important.
Speaking of which, another important thing, Driftwood's famous piano boy is at it again.
Oh boy!
I mean, after a merciful respite since the beginning of summer, people all across Driftwood are reporting new piano boy strikes. Now, of course, a piano boy strike, they sit down at their piano to play, and after a minute or two, the infamous piano boy blasts out at the top of the piano, fully naked with his body painted like piano keys, scaring the bejesus out of whoever's there. He then yells, "Play more Chopin," and runs away into the night.
They
And nobody
love
knows.
And he
that.
always mispronounces Chopin.
Yeah, he does every time.
single time. It's crazy that he hasn't learned.
I think he's just trolling people. And nobody knows who Piano Boy is because
and no one
of the
knows
body
who
paint.
Chopin is.
Maybe he's
That's
referring
the problem.
to a different
Maybe that's the problem.
the composer. Yeah.
Maybe
I don't
maybe
know.
he
That's-
is Chopin.
I don't know. Yeah, I think you
Oh.
might be mistaken in that you think it's the composer.
I made an assumption, and I made an ass out of me and me by assuming that
Yeah,
this is.
you're foolish for pronouncing it the way
Hey, I got my
you
fist.
did. Yeah.
Don't bring popular composer Chopin into this
Yeah.
when that's not who they're talking
Who's being
about.
unappreciated
I stand corrected.
in the mind of Piano Boy. But yeah, he's reported to be in his late teens, and victims of Piano Boy have noted a lingering aroma of andouille sausage in his wake after he disappears. And he has emerged from pianos in private residences, as well as schools, churches, and train stations. And nobody has ever managed to prevent him from escaping after his terrifying surprise attacks.
It's a real Trojan piano situation.
Wow.
It's a real.
Bravo, Penny.
You know when you just can see the
And
matrix.
it all comes together.
If this doesn't get us a fucking beard, I don't know
My
what will.
God, are you listening?
see the matrix.
Council of
there.
Driftwood. We're tying strings and threads together all over the place.
We're
This
tying
is
them
art.
better
This is
than
not-
a fish woman's knot.
Ah! She can't be stopped. She can't be stopped. Penny on a roll. Bench is beside himself. He's just doing laps.
I just
I
can't.
You never cease to amaze me.
Thank you.
Penny.
Thank you.
The height of radioing.
Some real
in the
third beat
studio
radioing
today.
here.
You know when you're
Third
like
beat.
watching a sports match,
Yes.
and one of the
Sports ball.
one of the all-time greats is just like in the zone and cannot be denied. And it's just like, this is a
That's
master at work.
Me today?
That
Oh,
is
God.
Penny
Watching
today.
the Olympics.
Honestly.
Like people at the height of their power, just doing what they do best.
Crushing it.
It's an
Undeniable.
honor. It's an honor to be here in this table.
It
amongst
really
you fine
is.
people.
Sitting across from you here.
Thank you. Just when you
Oh.
say crushing it in an honor, kind of like that other radio station winning that New Year's honor.
And how we want to crush them for
How
it.
yeah.
That's
That one's also a connection, but sadder.
yeah.
It's
I'll
true.
wait for a stronger third one.
I can appreciate the connection itself, but it does.
Stings.
It's just a little bit more of a.
Stings a little bit, yeah.
Stings
Indeed.
like that.
Much
like
like-
the river Styx.
I don't know
Did
if
it
that's
sting
sting.
when
Yeah,
he?
I don't know. We
I
never
imagine it would
confirmed that.
feel empowering and like sort of like you're getting
I
juiced
feel
up.
like the bit that's not
with a
in the
bunch of-
river might sting because you'd be like, all the rest of me feels great, like a good massage right now, but this one ankle.
Do you think
oh boy.
his heel was always itchy?
Yeah. I can imagine him just never being comfortable in shoes.
Yeah.
You know, like it always just rubs the wrong way.
Because that's a spot in shoes that sometimes gets itchy anyway. And imagine that's a one
Is it?
area.
Especially
if you
if
have a
they're-
shoe that like is
got a little
isn't a
zip on the
perfect
side.
fit. Yeah, true. You have a
Oh.
zipper or a different type of
Mhm.
heel. It the back sometimes. And if your Achilles everywhere else is invulnerable and impervious to any pain or anything like that, just this one spot, it's gonna be itchy as hell.
Disappointing. Yeah, disappointing.
And you can't itch it because then you'll die.
Yeah. And you know who also seems to be invulnerable?
Piano boy.
Piano boy,
We need
bringing
to-
it back.
We need to stop this kid.
And we're sure it's just one. We're sure it's not a team
Maybe
of
it's a
piano
copycat.
boys.
My God, you're seeing layers to the world that no one else is today,
Yeah.
Penelope.
I just feel real smart.
They could
You're
be a
smart.
team.
Could be a team.
Yeah, like there could be multiple because how was he getting into these places and sitting? Like we discussed around the Trojan horse, like making no noise.
And fitting inside of a piano that is actively being played for a minute or two at a time
It's true.
before
Like,
he bursts out.
You're just getting bonked on the head by the keys
Mhm.
for a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing for me is he must be, you said late teens, that checks because if me at my advanced age were to burst from a piano where I had been in that tight quarter, I'm doing a little stretching. I'm not
cramps.
coming out immediately. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not immediately coming out and saying my manifesto. I am going to go, oh, excuse me, 1 second. Ow, 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 ow. Just need to stretch that out. Okay.
You're not fleeing into the night.
You need to play more Chopin. And then I'm fleeing at a mild pace, a mild jogging pace.
And you're asking where the door is.
Yeah.
And
Can I use the bathroom before I go?
Just no one look at me while I try to sit upright.
hmm Also, I think you need the body confidence of a late teen.
That's true.
yeah,
Even though,
they don't care at all.
or do they care too much? Depends on how
Depends
late.
on the
I mean,
team.
if you watch like a sports match,
yeah.
Which we love,
And-
all of us equally.
and you see people like painted the team colors or the team name or whatever on their chest, it's always a bunch of like 20-year-old idiots.
Yeah.
You know? It's never like a regal 50-year-old gentleman.
Just having
Brian
a great
Cox
time.
style.
Brian Cox.
It's never a retiree.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
love a retiree. Also, I'm just
You'd
gonna
love
say,
it. You'd love it.
and
You
in the
want to
sports
see
ball,
this?
yeah, I want like one granddad
Just
and
with,
amongst all the teens who's just like, he's been doing this for ages. He's really good, but he's a
the
little out of
godfather
breath.
of the group.
Yeah. He's winded so quickly.
So he sits out some of the chants and cheers that they do.
Yeah.
I bet that
And he
happens.
probably would need to like take a seat occasionally. So the letter of whatever it is that he's representing would drop out of the overall word that they're spelling out with collectively.
Yeah. Just every so often he's like, guys, I need to pee again. Oh, age.
They
and
need
then
to
he's
have
shuffling past them.
if they put him as like the G at the end of a thing, they can have like a younger guy behind him as an apostrophe. So when he sits down, you can have
That's
Yes.
smart.
That's clever.
smart.
Just like to tough them out.
Because it doesn't change the word, it just becomes a little more colloquial.
Exactly.
I also like that you said the G at the end of a thing because G is at the end of thing.
My God, Penny doesn't miss.
It just makes
Penny
sense.
is like omniscient right now. Penny is seeing everything.
Kind of like
at the
Cassandra in The Fall of Troy, but she wasn't believed, whereas people listen to me and understand and respect.
Oh my God,
believe you.
this is blood.
Unbelievable.
Penny,
Yeah?
I stand in awe.
Thank you so much.
We are so lucky to have
Hey,
you.
you don't win 5 years of Women in Radio awards without bringing a little bit of Greek mythology to your morning radio broadcast.
Hey, you heard it. You heard it here, folks.
Because you read that one book and saw the film Troy.
Is that the breadth of your knowledge? You've
I think-
retained a lot of very detailed information, if that is the case.
Hey, Troy lasted 10 years.
And that
It's
one
a lot
book
of
was
knowledge.
also, that was
It's
the
a real
Odyssey,
big
right?
book. Oh no, that's the sequel to Troy.
Oh, sorry, the Aeneid?
Because
The Iliad?
Because
Iliad.
'Cause there's the
Odysseus,
Aeneid as well. That's a different one.
the Odyssey is Odysseus leaving after the Battle of Troy, and then he just goes on a fun adventure.
Did they release them? Did they
So
release the
that's-
Odyssey first and then they released the Iliad?
Kinda
And they were
like-
like, actually, we always intended for
Kind of
this
like
to
the
be.
Lord of the Rings films.
I was
or
thinking of
Star
Star Wars.
Wars, yeah. Yeah.
That
Homer was the
It was
original.
called the Odyssey, and then they changed it to a new Odyssey, Chapter 4.
Homer, I would argue, is the original George Lucas.
Yeah,
You know,
I'd agree. Yeah.
retired.
master storyteller.
Wealth of-
Do you think that's the common thread there? They're retired.
Wealthy?
Was Homer wealthy?
This is a good question.
Probably. He has an IMDb. That's a true fact.
Does he?
That's a
Oh, I'm
true
so
fact.
sorry. Can I just sorry, Bench? You're not thinking Homer Simpson, right?
Yeah, he has an IMDb.
No, we're talking about the writer
The writer.
of the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Odyssey.
Homer Simpson
Homer Simpson did not write the Odyssey.
famously
course,
worked in a nuclear
okay.
power plant.
Admittedly,
Sorry.
there aren't that many famous Homers.
I'm
Those
not.
particular two are different people.
Of course, I'm not saying
Another
that the
famous
cartoon
Homer is when you get your
character-
friend who's a plumber to do a job in your home for you, and then they just like don't declare the tax. That's also a famous Homer.
No.
Must be a northern thing. That's cool, though. I like it.
You're like, mate, can you do a Homer?
Do a Homer for me.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm going to start using that. What were you saying, Pitch?
I don't know.
It's probably for the best.
Probably, yeah.
Well,
I was going to defend myself in some way. It's fine. We don't need that.
on that note, we are going to get to an extended commercial break. And Good Morning Driftwood is brought to you by the Gertrude Stein Salon. Gertrude Stein, of course, is the famous writer and art collector who hosted the early 20th century Paris Salon, where figures like Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and Pablo Picasso gathered to discuss and elevate their art. This is not that type of salon. This is a hair salon specializing in the signature Gertrude Stein high bangs tight bowl cut. That's the haircut they do. They're very good at it and not good at any others. So head on down to the Gertrude Stein Salon with their signature slogan, "We only want the hair on top of your head, not the dumb poems inside of it." Just some harsh words against art and literature from the Gertrude Stein Salon. And just on a personal aside for me, it's really quite insulting to objectify Gertrude Stein like that and dismiss all her literary or artistic influence in favor of her haircut. But nonetheless, Gertrude Stein Salon, we thank you for your sponsorship. For Good Morning Driftwood, we'll see you soon. Good Morning Driftwood is executive produced and hosted by Zach Stewart, Laura Hotchkiss, and Daniel Kvoras. Engineered and produced by Zach Stewart. Music by Daniel Kvoras.